All right. I have now finished chapters 56 through 64 of uh of the Game of Thrones, and something really interesting happens in this part of the book. There's actually there's a lot of action. First of all, battles are fought, armies move. Jaime Lannister is captured. Lord Tywin finally enters the story. He's been kind of at the outskirts the whole time. But we actually see him and get a first description of him. And Khal Drogo, in a very sudden thing, falls from his horse, and looks like he's. It looks like he's gonna die, uh, which was just shocking. And yet somehow the pacing still feels kind of slow, but not boring slow. It's not boring. It's more of a suspenseful slow. The suspense is, even though action is broken out, there's still suspense that's building. Everything feels like it's waiting to see who will come out of this, who will live, who will die, and what kind of world is going to emerge from all this chaos. But like I said, we finally meet Tywin Lannister, he's been looming over the story for a long time. And the very first conversation between him and Tyrion tells us almost everything about him. Tywin immediately blames Tyrion for the entire war. Not the Starks, not Jaime, not the Queen, but Tyrion. And Tyrion responds with with a pretty funny line, but that's one way we differ, Jamie and I. He's taller as well. You may have noticed. um, but that line perfectly captures Tyrion's character. But Tywin is something very different. He's cold, calculating, and utterly disciplined. Martin describes him almost like a statue carved out of gold and iron. Tywin doesn't rule with charm or inspiration. He rules with fear and precision. One detail, though, that really struck me was the enormous list of names read out in King's Landing. Every lord in Westeros is commanded to swear fealty to Joffrey or be declared a traitor. In the book, it's like this, like a whole paragraph of nothing but names. Like it's long. It's a long list, and it just keeps going. Even when we finish that paragraph, then suddenly it gets into the list of Starks, like, and even Arya, who's only a child, is named. It seems like almost the entire realm is on that list, and that moment reveals something. I think, in that the Lannisters may control the throne, but they know they're surrounded by enemies. They're the kind of people who make enemies pretty easily. And then we see a very powerful scene in the character of Sir Barristan Selmy, who is forced into retirement, basically. And he responds with absolute dignity. He says, I am a knight. I shall die a knight. And that line felt very Tolkienian to me because Tolkien believed honor was not something given by rulers, and it wasn't something that could just be taken away. It was something that existed inside the individual. Characters like Aragorn or Faramir embody that idea, and Barristan does as well in this story. Even stripped of rank and armor and forced into retirement, he's still a knight in his mind. Meanwhile, Ned Stark faces an impossible decision: confess treason or die. And Varys, the eunuch, the spider guy, frames the situation brutally. Ned may be willing to die for his honor, but Varys says that Sansa will die, which forces Ned into a very painful choice. Not between honor and dishonor, but between honor and the love he has for his family, for his own daughter. It's much easier to die for what you believe in than to watch someone you love die. And what Ned is going to choose, I don't know. I like it, this is a huge decision. Um, but this whole moment, especially what Sansa does, but a little bit with Ned as well, reminded me strongly of something C.S. Lewis writes in The Great Divorce. Lewis says that even the best human loves can become destructive and dangerous if they replace something higher. Lewis writes, brass is mistaken for gold more easily than clay is. And that's in a section, I believe the ghost name is Pam. She's talking to her brother about wanting to see her son, who she lost while she was on Earth. And her love for her son has become a controlling thing. It dominates her life. Um, it's good. Mother love is good. Love for one's family is good, but it's become something that's uh, she's taken a good thing and twisted it. Uh, but in other words, the higher a thing is, the more dangerous it becomes when it goes wrong. In another part of The Great Divorce, it says that it's not from bad mice or bad fleas that you get demons, but from bad archangels. And that's exactly what we're seeing in this section, because Sansa's romantic love for Joffrey blinds her to reality. And Ned's love for his daughter is putting him into a position where he may need to sacrifice his own honor. Both are good. Sansa's romantic love is a good thing, but it can go off the rails. And when it does go off the rails, it's even worse than the debasement of the lower passions. And same thing with Ned. Even the politics of Westeros are driven by twisted versions of loyalty and family. But then the story shifts north. And here we get one of the most thoughtful conversations in the entire book. Master Aemon explains why the Night's Watch forbids love and family. Because love creates divided loyalties. And divided loyalties destroy duty. And this philosophy feels very much like the philosophy of the Jedi Order in Star Wars. The idea that attachment can compromise responsibility. But John instinctively rejects that idea because he believes love and honor should support each other rather than destroying each other. And then in this same section, we get a shocking reveal. At least it was shocking for me. But Master Aemon is actually a Targaryen. He's Aemon Targaryen. A man who, if things had worked out slightly differently in history, could have actually been king. But instead, he chose exile on the wall. That moment feels almost like a mirror to the entire story. Because here's a man who gave up the royal life willingly. Which again echoes Tolkien's idea that the best rulers are often the ones who don't seek power. Meanwhile, in the East, I still have trouble with their name. Dany is changing. When the Dothraki sack a city, she begins rescuing the victims, claiming them, protecting them, freeing them. And this reminded me strongly of something actually in the Bible. In 1 Samuel, David gathers around him a group of desperate men, the distressed, the indebted, the outcasts. And they eventually become known as David's mighty men. And here Dany seems to be building something similar. A sort of army of the broken and forgotten. Then we see Robb Stark win a major victory. He captures Jaime Lannister, the Kingslayer. And when his men urge him to execute Jaime, especially Theon Greyjoy, Robb refuses because his father taught him something important, that you don't kill prisoners, even in war. And that moment shows Robb is becoming more than a boy. He's becoming a leader. And finally, in the last Dany section, everything suddenly changes again because, like I said, Khal Drogo collapses. The most powerful warrior, seemingly in the world. Like I'd put him up there with the people of King's Landing based on how it's described him and the sheer numbers he commands. But he falls from his horse. And this is just shocking to me. It came out of nowhere, it seemed like. And in Dothraki culture, that means everything. Because a Khal who can't ride can't rule. Suddenly, the prophecy about Dany's unborn child becomes dangerous. Dangerous to not just the child, but dangerous to Dany herself. If Drogo dies, the Khalasar may tear itself apart, and Dany, along with her child, may be killed to prevent that prophecy from coming true. So, Dany, understandably desperate, turns to Miri Mazdur, who I don't really know what to make of her. She's one of the people Dany freed, um, and saved. But Miri warns her only death can pay for life. And this is blood magic. It's ancient magic, dark magic. And again, in the past chapters, I've talked about how been getting the impression that the ancient things are starting to come back. It seems like, and it's talked about how in different parts of the world certain things still exist, and Dany has wondered why not dragons before. She's wondered things like that, but things seem to be coming back. But as the chapter ends, Miri begins her ritual while Dany waits outside the tent, listening to the sounds of something unnatural happening inside. Like I'm not sure this is gonna turn out for the good, based on that ending. Um, but we'll find out. But that's where this section leaves us, with armies marching, kings imprisoned, prophecies unfolding, magic awakening, and everywhere in the story, people are forced to make impossible choices between honor and survival, between love and duty, and between power and justice. And what's terrifying is we still don't know which of those things this world actually rewards. So there's quite a bit that needs to be resolved. I'll see y'all next time as I think through a lot of this, and when I get into what's probably gonna be the home stretch next time.